Art and Architecture, Sushant University Heritage Watch Day 2021. Uh, Before starting, I would like to remind all of you to please put your mics on mute and your cameras off to conserve bandwidth. We would love to have your comments and questions in the chat box, and then we can address them during the close of the session. The School of Art and Architecture, Sushant University, has been actively involved in generating awareness about built heritage through on-ground activities and outreach across various mediums as a part of our Heritage Watch program. The initiatives that we have taken have been focused on highlighting built form typologies that are getting lost with passage of time as the context and relevance of these has transformed. So from Baudis or stepwells in 2018 to sarais or rest houses in 2019 and to Havelis and mansions uh, or chopars and village community centers in 2020, we now move towards a more comprehensive view of the various typologies of the heritage of Gurugram as a part of Heritage Watch 2021. Today's panel discussion is the initiation of this process by getting the views of significant stakeholders who are associated with the cause of heritage in Gurugram. So I would now like to introduce the panelists. First, we have Professor Dr. Vibhuti Sachdev, who is our Dean at School of Art and Architecture, Sushant University, and also Director of the Sushant University's Creative Cluster of Architecture, Planning and Design. Dr. Vibhuti Sachdev qualified as an architect from the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi in 1989. And after the period spent in practice and research in India, she undertook a PhD in architectural theory at the School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London, completed in 1996. She was later lecturer in the history of art in the University of Sussex, a post that she left in 2004 to return to India. She has worked as an independent writer and lecturer and as a consultant on various conservation projects. Many of her publications concern Vastu Vidya or related knowledge systems and their expression in architecture and art. She has worked extensively on the city of Jaipur, focusing on its architecture and craft traditions. Of the four books that she has written, she is the co-author of two books on the city, Building Jaipur and Jaipur City Palace. Dr. Sachdev has also been a consultant on the restoration of the Jal Mahal in Jaipur and was the design curator for the artwork of its pavilions and the co-curator of the exhibition Painted Pleasure. Her latest book is on the festivals at the Jaipur Court. She joined School of Art and Architecture, Sushant University in 2014 and continues here as Dean of SAA and the Director of our Creative Cluster. Next, I would like to introduce Major Atul Dev, who is the convener of Intact Gurugram Chapter, Rotary Secretary and Projects Coordinator, Rotary India Water Conservation Trust. So, Major Atul Dev was a commissioned officer for 21 years in the army. He started his career in 1959 by passing out from the IMA with the silver medal and being awarded the silver missile for being the best all-round gentleman cadet selected for the Regiment of Artillery. He ended his uniformed career in 1980 with the award of the Assam Rifles Gold Medal for services rendered in the Northeast. And during his 40 years in civil life thereafter, he has been with the media as in the media industry as Chief of Bureau, Gentleman Group of Magazines, a columnist for Mauritius Times, La Express of Mauritius, and the Trinidad Guardian as a freelance journalist. As a PR consultant, he has provided consultancy to Indian and foreign corporates and founded the Indian Institute of Public Relations. His area of special interest is air sports, includes paragliding, parachuting, and has also participated in these sports since 1962. And also in 2016-2017, he was elected President Aero Club of India, India's apex association for air sports, and was also the Vice President of the World Air Sports Federation, which is an Olympic International Sports Federation based in Switzerland, and also elected chair of their PR committee, and was the founder, editor-in-chief, and publisher of their magazine Air Sports International. He has also has a keen interest in heritage and has been associated with our college also in the past. And we thank you for your contribution always. Next, is Sadia Akhtar, who is special correspondent in the Hindustan Times. So she's a special correspondent who covers politics, education, and heritage amongst other beats. And she has also taken a keen interest in heritage conservation and oral history archiving, and has extensively reported on the heritage and culture for Gurugram and Mewat. So I'm sure you all must have read her article. Next, I want to introduce Shubhra Puri, who is the founder of Gurgaon First. So Shubhra Puri is the founder of Gurgaon First, which conducts workshops, roundtables, and publishes handbooks on Gurugram. Its vision is to make Gurugram a sustainable, empowered, and inclusive city. Ms. Puri has been writing extensively for the media on issues concerning Gurugram. An MBA, she started her career as a journalist with the Economic Times in 1995. She later worked as an editor content for Powerline and India Infrastructure magazine, and was involved with developmental policy and regulatory issues concerning the infrastructure sector. She has also been writing a regular column with Hindustan Times titled Human Impact. She's also a trustee with the Ragiri Foundation. She is an advisor for One Stop Center for Women in Gurugram, initiated by the District Managerial Committee under the District Commissioner. And she has been recently appointed as an advisor to Kalagram, which is a society for promotion of arts in Gurugram. A lyricist, composer, and producer of songs, Ms. Puri also believes in the power of music bringing social change. Her song Swachhta Ki Dhoom was adopted by the MCG, the Municipal Corporation of Gurugram, to become the Swachhta anthem for Gurugram. She has also produced a song on Swachhta Games for the Ministry of Urban Development, a jingle for Gurugram's Gurujal or city water, and recently a song on tackling air pollution. The discussion will be moderated by Dr. Parul Munjal, who is Associate Professor and Program Director, Master of Architecture in Built Heritage and Conservation, School of Art and Architecture, Sushant University. Dr. Parul Munjal is an Associate Professor at the Sushant School of Art and Architecture and heads the 2-year Masters of Architecture in Built Heritage program at the school. She is a conservation architect with 13 years of experience in the industry and academia. Munjal is editor of Context, Built, Living and Natural, an internationally referred journal. She has worked on a number of World Heritage dossiers along with plans for conservation, management and interpretation of heritage sites in India. With a strong orientation towards interdisciplinary research, Dr. Munjal has published widely in journals of repute in the areas of heritage conservation, community-based approach, and heritage tourism. The focus of her doctoral research was on the built heritage of small and medium towns in Gurgaon district. So I would like to hand it over to Dr. Parul Munjal to take the discussion further. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sabar. Thank you. Very good morning, everyone. So we today, I think it's a great opportunity that we've sort of made use of. And 18th January, we've celebrated as our Heritage Watch Day, because as Major Atul Dev and Sadia, everybody is aware of, that is the day 3 years ago, in 2018 January, we were standing at the Badshahpur Bauri, and earth was being filled into the Bauri while we stood there, and everybody collaborated, raised voices about it, and then the process stopped. So that's the first day, we coined this as the SSA Heritage Watch Day, because we can make a difference, as an academic institution, as active citizens, as agents of change. In a way, we can make a difference, and we intend to do so. So through our EMARC Built Heritage program, we've had these great opportunities to engage with the heritage of the city. And essentially today, now, instead of looking at one particular heritage site or a particular heritage, structure, we are overall looking at the idea of heritage development, and what better example or place to pick than, Gurgaon. Because development, everybody talks about development in Gurgaon, how much change has happened over the last 10 years. It's really developed and so much has happened. And then we ask ourselves that are we, is the development sensitive to our heritage, environmental resources? Where are we going with this? So do we consider that's where the title comes in today, heritage and development? Are we looking at these as being friends, or are we looking at these as being foes to each other? So of course, we've got great examples across the world, across the country also, where there have been synergies between heritage and development, but there are lots of battles that we end up losing. So thanks to all of the panelists for joining in today, and each of you are significant stakeholders, in this process of engaging with heritage. So, and we've all had interactions about this cause of heritage with each of you. So many thanks to you again for coming on board. And now we'll start with the discussion without taking much time. So I will start with requesting each of you to share your initial views about this idea of heritage and development, what your initial thoughts are. So starting with our Dean, Dr. Vibhuti Sachdev, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Parul. And thank you all for being here on what is a very, very important day for us as an institution. It is also to demonstrate that if we all, regardless of where we belong to, if we stay vigilant about our environment, we can contribute towards saving what we want to save. So I just want to open the discussion with a few points just to lay the ground of the title of the discussion, Heritage and Development, Friends or Foes. This has four aspects embedded in the title. First, let's first, and of course the most important one is heritage. If we look at look at other synonyms of what heritage is it dharohar, is it a parampara, or is it a virasat? All three in a way contribute to what we mean by heritage, but we often get confused or sort of amplify a certain aspect of heritage while neglecting the others. Heritage also has a temporal quality to it, in terms of its age, in terms of how old it was, which century, which decade, which period. It also has a stylistic quality to it, whether what it looks like sometimes is related to what heritage is. And this is very clear from our poster as well. I mean, our poster is a provocation because on one side we have a similar looking buildings, and the other side is yet another stylistically very different kinds of buildings. And nobody would, even hesitate to say, the left side of course is heritage and the right side is of course development. So we are colored by that kind of a visual stylistic judgment that we apply on what heritage is, and that is something that we need to question when it comes to modern heritage, because that's somewhere in between and often gets lost in the idea of what heritage is. It also has political connotations to it. Heritage, which we like, admire, may be what is politically favorable at the moment by, particular political party. We may choose to dislike certain groups of buildings just because, the political, it's not the, the political flavor of the year. It is also has a typological connotation. Heritage includes typologically diverse kinds of buildings used for various kinds of functions, and sometimes giving importance to sacred over secular, giving importance to public over private, giving importance to royal over common, ordinary. in a way casts a kind of a judgment on what we consider heritage. Heritage is also about memory. It's about remembering our past. It is what triggers stories about our past. It is what um, reminds us from, about where we belong to. And so the question here to ask is, what is worth remembering? And as human being, the memory of every human being is very selective. So we choose not to remember certain things in order to act in a certain way, or in order to progress in a certain way. We erase memory consciously. We choose to remember certain things which we think are important to us. And so we need to be very aware of what this memorizing process is, and who is facilitating this memorizing process by constant reminders and or constant erasure of our past. And not to forget that heritage of its time was development in its past. That it may have been considered as a big intrusion in the landscape, as we might view certain buildings today. And so in this selection of memory, when certain things get left out, we need to be alert and conscious as to why these things have got left out. Just to be aware, even if we agree or disagree, we need to be aware as to why things get left out, and what gets left out. Also, we need to kind of be alert to this wave of sympathy towards heritage. Even I might myself find it in that group, as to what are we sympathizing about and who is it for, and what are these pro heritage, pro past agendas. What do they achieve, and whose voices are these? Is it the mainstream voice? Is it of a select few? Is it elitist? And to be aware of what is germinating this discourse is important to assess what we're doing with it. The second word is development, and again I would draw inspiration from the Hindi or Sanskrit words like vikas and unnati and utthan. These are three common words that are often used to describe what development is, and all the three mean very different things. Vikas is very different from unnati, and which is very different from utthan, which is almost evolution. That development is linked to evolution. Also, we tend to ignore. We're much more alert to the intangible heritage now that it's become part of the mainstream discourse. We are not so conscious of the intangible aspect of development. What are the cultures it breeds? It's breeding. If we think that heritage has this intangible aspect of culture that it bred and that we must save, it is also true that the current development is breeding cultures that we must be alert and aware of. And what are these intangible aspects of current development? Development also has this very strong, albeit misleading idea that it has to be forward-looking. It is always forward-looking. By its nature, it has to be forward-looking. We can't look back. Therefore, it's always futuristic. So that is the temporal quality of development, that it is forward-looking and it doesn't look back. And we need to question that as well. That can it only look forward and not look back? And and is any future, and not without its roots in its past? And a very uncomfortable question we need to ask is, who is this development for? and who are participating in this development? What is it for, and who gets left out in this whole idea of what the country needs, what the buildings it requires, what development, and these are things that have been currently being discussed in debates that engage with heritage, and also not to forget that today's development is tomorrow's heritage. And is this what we want to leave for our next generation as heritage? And the legacy of development becomes the heritage for the future generation. Quickly then coming to the word that is between heritage and development is or, which kind of signifies a relationship which is that of division. It's that of two aspects that cannot coexist. And whereas does it need is it heritage or development? Can there be a tie? What can the nature of tie be? Who initiates these ties, and what is the ground? Is it based on common interest? Now, the people who back heritage and back development, do they have different interests? What are the commonalities? I mean, we know the differences, but what are the commonalities? Why is this oppositional stand always in current discourse when it comes to heritage and development? Why do they stand on the opposite fronts? Why can't they be in the same court? Can the game be different? Can it be a football instead of a tennis? Where you're standing opposite each other, and rather than chasing the same ball. Why is there a division, a separation, a difference? Why are they opposites? Is something we need to kind of discuss and deliberate on. And of course, the fourth most important place word, Gurgaon, which is why we are here and why we celebrate Heritage Watch Day as keen, vigilant police, self-appointed vigils of heritage, is because Gurgaon is a very interesting lab for us. It's a very interesting. We regard this as a living lab, and where rapid urbanization is happening, and the first thing that comes under its road rolling approach is our delicate, already crumbling heritage, old buildings, and so to understand what a relationship of a kind of a dynamic, very eclectic, very cosmopolitan city like Gurgaon has with its past, we need to understand what is this community that we live in. This is not a community that is, tied up through ties of tradition or caste, or it's an occupational community. And having said that, there is still a remnant of community that's old, new, old, local, and occupational. So all these four kinds of communities are living in Gurgaon, and we need to kind of course, protect and save, reuse, rebuild what we have. And is it possible to rebuild what is lost? And why should we not do that? Why is there such a kind of a taboo for rebuilding what is lost? I mean, all the craftsmanship is there, all the people who like old buildings are there. So all the things that take to rebuild are there. So again, we've seen this revival in other fields. We've seen tremendous revival in textiles and music and classical dance and cuisine and Ayurveda and all sorts of other allied disciplines of traditional systems, and yet there is a lot of hesitation in trying to kind of do a similar revival in architecture. And what is the reason for that? And And lastly, I want to kind of, present this idea that, there are layers of every community. There's layers to every soil that we live on. And to take the development as just the topsoil, and the subsoil is the culture of the place, and the parent rock is the community, and the bedrock is the history. So that is the layers of the soil that we are sitting on, and we need to kind of engage. If we want to grow, an old banyan tree, we need to kind of have all those layers of soil and reach the bedrock for us to be sustainable as a culture. So with these opening thoughts, I'll give it back to Parul to take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks, Dr. Vibhuti. Lots of questions that we all need to, I think, ask ourselves while we set out the agendas for where we take heritage and whatever role we play in taking heritage forward, hand in hand with development. So now I will request Major Atul Dev to come on board, and I would like to, he's been not only as the convener of Intact Gurugram chapter, but also as this, with this active role in the Rotary. The first discussion I had with him about some 8-10 years ago, I think, about heritage was where he shared this very interesting experience about Haryana, Gurgaon versus other states, and how there's a difference in approach and attitude. So, Major Atul Dev, how would you look at heritage and development in the context of Gurgaon particularly, and how are we different from the other places? So please, I request you to share your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much, Parul. First and foremost, I want to ask you, what am I doing here amongst such a well-read, with such a lovely background of all the other panelists? I am perhaps, the one least qualified to be here. However, I shall make an effort to come up to your expectations, and I hope I will be permitted to climb up a little bit. Okay. As far as the point that Parul has made about Gurgaon to start with in our first meeting, very honestly, I have had no educational background to either architecture or to any of the arts. Went into the forge. Well, there it was not preservation. There it was not keeping it as it was. There the concept was destruction. And all that we wanted to do was get on with the task of making sure that the enemy does not get a better deal with us or over us. However, I have changed an attitude of mine, considering that I have been with the private sector for the last 40 years. And my initial experience of heritage came in when I learned about 10 years ago, or maybe 12 years ago, on how to construct check dams. And I spent, almost every month I used to be in Alwar and Sikar districts of Rajasthan, and to one or two occasions at Mewat, also Haryana. And, I can very proudly say that I've been personally responsible for supervising and actually carrying out the construction of about 100+ check dams in this area. Our Guruji was that famous Magsaysay Award winner, Mr. Rajinder Singh, and he had done a lot of revival of water which was required badly in Rajasthan. We learned from him and we contributed our might. Now, as far as Intact is concerned, we have been working in close tandem with other agencies here, particularly SSAA also. And we have been very happy that our association has resulted in something useful that's coming up. The point I want to make here is we cannot wipe out our history. We cannot wipe out our past. Political, as Dean ma'am mentioned, politics may be coming and going. They may have different ideas from time to time. But the fact remains. The fact you cannot remove the fact. Can you remove the fact that we were ruled by ex-king or the ex-Maharaja or the ex-emperor? Can we? No. That remains. And the influence of the rule at that time would be as much as the influence of the rule at this time. So if we think we can obliterate the past and not learn from lessons that they have taught us, imagine someone 100 years later saying that what you taught us in 2021 is also to be obliterated. And look at the angle that I'm trying to bring in. So therefore, we cannot wipe out our history or our past. Instead, if I may put it this way, that those who forget their history or forget their past are bound to make the same mistakes again. Let us learn from those lessons that people learned. As far as our Virasat is concerned, or as ma'am had mentioned, our Daroha is concerned, or whether you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about the past or the heritage, whether it's built heritage or otherwise, whether it is heritage concerning music, art, food, culture, background. Yes, these are lessons to be learned. But at the same time, I would like to remind our friends, time is moving on. Expectations are changing. Influences from other cultures are coming in. Youngsters and people of the generation have different expectations from what we had 100 years ago, or 50 years ago, or 75 years ago. Availability of resources are changing. Today, people can afford to do things which what we could not afford to do. And I really like the way ma'am said, one car, one house, one this, one that. But today, the thing has changed. Today, people have got multiple choices. And therefore, there will be a change. The question now is, how much of the heritage do we need them to know about? Whether they should be told about the architecture, whether they should be told about the music, whether they're told about something else, whichever way you put it. I mean, I'm just making a general statement here. So therefore, we have to understand the aspirations have changed. The resources have changed. The influences have changed. And therefore, our task is a little different today. The question now arises whether we would like to rebuild or preserve. And by rebuilding, whether we want to achieve anything, or whether by preserving, we hope to achieve something. That's an important factor. As far as Gurgaon is concerned, or Gurugram is concerned, due to the very rapid development that has taken place, and as I have observed it, personally, I've started living in Gurgaon for the last 24 years now. I came in here not because I was attracted to Gurugram because of any reason whatsoever, except that I could get a decent place for the money that I had, to be very honest. And today also, I think the same attitude is with people. They don't mind moving on. In fact, if you notice, always civilizations move cyclically outwards because, it's a question of finances. So I moved into Gurugram, and I had no idea, or I had no reason to start thinking of Gurugram of any heritage background. All I know one is, when I was a youngster, my old man used to drive us down to Gurgaon and say, I can buy you the best gur, and let's go down there, pick up some nice gur, pick up some nice shakkar, and bring it back. That's all that I remember Gurgaon for those days. Anyway, so now when we arrived here, what do we see? A large scale utilization of land without concern to what that land was utilized for earlier, whether it was agriculture, whether it was somebody's abode. People like, the palace of Begum Samru, for example, in Jharsa, has been completely destroyed because the land mafia had decided to utilize that land for development. It's gone. Your Badshahpur Bauli, which really brought us together in a big way, and our heritage the day, as we call it today, is because they were, it was about to be completely closed up. There was a road going right over that Bauli, and it would have, there would have been nothing left of, we would have even known there was a Bauli. And the land that belonged to some private party had been taken over and was going to be utilized, till of course we all made a noise. And I still remember the noise made by Parul and others, and of course great help which we got from people like Sadia and the media. And really, and the result was, yes, the present municipal commissioner as a DC then actually physically stopped the destruction of that Bauli any further, or shall we say, not even destruction, it was obliteration of that Bauli. You see, and it is, what do we do? Can we utilize that Bauli today for water? I don't think so. Can we utilize that Bauli today for anything constructive or practical? I don't think so. But why do we need that Bauli? We need it for people to know how we lived then, how we drew our water then, how what is the step well. Otherwise, the younger people, for them it's, they don't know. For them, the milk comes in, in a van. They don't know the milk comes from a cow. That is the point, So that is the people have to be reminded that those days there were no taps. You could not get water coming to your home through pipes. They had to go there, fetch it, and then there were things like that. So these things are what we like to preserve. So preservation, in my opinion, is a far more important factor than really rebuilding, or for that matter, trying to take things back to where we were originally. Have the new buildings. I have no objection to new buildings coming up. In fact, don't forget the aspirations. Let's take a small example of architecture. And I still remember when I got my first house in Nizamuddin East in 1951, the first ever construction outside the New Delhi zone constructed by LNDO, Nizamuddin East, the toilets were at the rear end of that very modern new building. There was no such thing as an attached toilet, because that was our cultural background. The toilets were kept away. And they were all, and of course, we talk of Vastu being hocus pocus and all these sciences we keep, they're sciences. They were very clearly defining where should the toilet be, so that the wind direction is such that it don't get that smell, and you are, all those. I don't want to go into that lecture just now, but the fact remains, can you imagine, Nizamuddin East, a colony built in 1951, had toilets away from the 3 living rooms. It is now that now if you today tell someone, no, we must now build the new houses also with toilets away from your bedrooms, will they accept it? No. But they certainly would like to know. And of course, today people want to buy a flat, and then they come around wanting to know, is the kitchen in the right place or not? Well, you have to accept where the building is, the design is, and construction is. People have to be accepting that. And today people who don't, I'm not saying that you ignore all that happened in the past, but certainly try and see what is the requirement of today. Now, the other thing is that as far as we move along, as I said, change will occur. And we have to understand that change, and we have to keep up with it. The other thing we have to also understand is the very strong relationship between authority and the private. If you look back at your historical background, most constructions, most activities were controlled by the authorities. There was a monument built in honor of somebody's tomb or somebody's palace or somebody's living place. But today, or very little was done for people. Today, it is not that. Today, private sector. Entire Gurgaon has been built by private sector. Entire Gurgaon. Is there any government activity here? Not at all. You have these various builders who have come up, bought land, developed it, and made it into a kind of a colony that they designed and sold it. Well, of course, the motive was profit motive, no doubt about it. Let's not fool ourselves into thinking that they're doing charitable causes, but they were doing it as a business. So anyway, I think I've said enough. All I want to finally close that by simply saying this, that we have to remember heritage. We have to preserve as much as we can so that people will learn from the lessons that the heritage teaches us, whether it is built heritage, it is heritage of any other type, intangible, and this, that, the other. But we have to understand life is moving on and aspirations have changed. Thank you very much, Dr. Munjal. Very sweet of you to have given me this opportunity. And as I said, well, I'm the odd man out. I'll try and keep up with you all. Thank you.
Not at all, sir. Nothing like odd one out. I think you're just the person. You know, you've been instrumental in connecting with the authorities as well as even the French embassy and all these agencies. And I think that's where Intag Gurugram plays a very significant role that you're really integrally, part of. So thank you, thank you. So with this, I would like to now move on to Sadia. So Sadia Akhtar has been covering heritage education segments, and I think. Lots of interactions with stakeholders because she's been interviewing so many people, various views, drawing various views from the different kinds of, groups of people. So Sadia, I think taking off from the points that Dr. Vibhuti Sachdev sort of mentioned in terms of, this whole idea of politicization of heritage in some ways. And, again, various voices, diverse voices which are different from each other, and which are expressions that are sometimes opposing each other, conflicting, from each other. So when we over to you to sort of share your experience with these diverse voices and positioning Gurgaon in terms of heritage and development today, with respect to the role of the various other stakeholders as well as the government authorities. So your views on that, Sadia. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Parul. So I was listening to Dr. Vibhuti, and she raised some very pertinent points. In fact, I was surprised that a lot of terms that she used. These are words that I hear on the ground very often. So she spoke about Dharohar legacy. So I would mostly speak from my experience of reporting from the ground, and what the perception of heritage conservation is for the common people. So when I first came to Gurgaon. Even for me, the image of the city, was mostly sort of, shaped by all these glass and chrome buildings. And till today, I feel that, somehow when we talk about Gurgaon, there is a dichotomy that, in our mind, visually, we see all these, Gurgaon as the corporate hub, business city, glass and chrome buildings. We see this as development. Whereas the old, worn out buildings, the historical component of the city, it's extremely neglected. And while for people outside Gurgaon, this is the perception, even for residents of the city. Like initially when I started reporting and writing about heritage structures here, Havelis, I used to get calls from people from Gurgaon, and they would be surprised. Wait, are you serious? This this really old fancy Haveli with all these chhajjas and the balcony, is this Gurgaon? You can't be serious. So even for the residents, they do not associate, somehow this city with, its historical aspects, the heritage, legacy and all. So I feel that sort of dichotomy needs to be broken. I mean, development for me is good change. And for social inclusive development, history, heritage needs to be a part of it. We cannot sort of let go of the past or dispose it off. So ma'am was talking about the rural legacy. So I tell you, when I go reporting on the ground, the owners of these Havelis, some of them still have inhabitants, people living in there. The first reaction is, oh, we should, maybe let, we want to get this Haveli demolished, and it would be great if, in a city like Gurgaon, we can maybe come up with a multi-story building. And so, you feel like there is no attachment to the property or the Haveli per se. But when you start talking to them, you ask them, follow-up questions, and they start telling you the oral history of the place, all these intergenerational memories, the people that lived here. And by the end of the conversation, every time these people, it starts with, okay, let's just do away with the Haveli, and it ends with, wait, you're correct, this is our legacy. We want to preserve it, but what next? So I feel that people, I mean, it's a fast changing world and priorities might have changed, but still, even people from, what you call the older generation, and even youngsters, they do feel a sense of connection to the history and heritage of a certain place. But at some point, the authorities, the state or the, stakeholders from society, the civil society, they need to step up so that there is a continued conversation. My experience has been that the conversation around heritage in the city is very muted to an extent. Like, you would still associate Delhi as, this historical city and where you have monuments at every corner. But Gurgaon, somehow everybody's just, slapped this label of a corporate city. So the, heritage and historical aspects of that, they have taken a backseat. So everybody needs to come together and bring it forward, because I personally feel, history, heritage, they provide a sense of identity, a sense of continuity, and especially in the, the world that we live in, so fast changing, we need a certain sense of continuum. So that's been my experience, and I mean, of course, the Shashank's tool intact, they have played a role, but at some point, these are like, trickles in an ocean. Somehow we still need to come together at a greater level, and I personally feel, my experience has been the government needs to really step up efforts. There are lots of issues, we discussed it before, how Chandigarh is a power center, we do not have figures of authority here in Gurgaon who are very invested in heritage. But if you look at the pace of things, like the Badshah Bauli, I think 3 years is a long time. It's only now that, thanks to Intact's effort, it's being, we're considering conservation and preservation. It could have happened much earlier. But I still emphasize on the role that that needs to be played by authority and government, like the French Memorial. Like we wrote about it, 3 years back. So many people did not know about it. But even today, even if you're in that particular area, I don't think you'll find a single signage board that sort of tells the people, look, here is the French Memorial. So there is nothing to pique the curiosity of the people. So people are just passing by, going by in the day-to-day life without realizing that Gurgaon also has its own history, heritage, legacy, and unless and until the government, authorities, and everybody steps in to make the people realize that, look, you have so much to appreciate. I'm sure they will appreciate. I just wanted to mention that somehow the popular perception often is that youngsters don't care about these things. I think that's incorrect. I mean, if you look at a lot of these oral history initiatives that are happening, be it the partition or other things, they are interested. They do want to sort of carry forward this connect and legacy from the past. So we just need to, like Professor Vibhuti mentioned, need to question a lot and break these dichotomies between what's what development in the popular perception, what's not, and take everybody along. I would say that youngsters are equally invested. I just wanted to drive home this point because even I come from a certain different generation. So we are equally concerned about the history and heritage. So I think youngsters need to be involved in this conversation around heritage to take it.
Thank you, Sadhya. That's very, I think, very, very important, the point that you made. And I think that's what we as an education institution have been trying to inculcate in our students as well. And I'm sure that, it is only through these efforts, and in fact, even Tag Gurugram has been working with schools, and they've been trying to do some initiatives with respect to that. So I'm sure those are ultimately, if we really focus on these kind of initiatives, definitely the future of the perception of heritage and the involvement of heritage with people can definitely change. So thanks a lot. And now Shubhra Puri. So Shubhra, you've been on, not only you're the founder of Gurgaon First, but also part of many other non-governmental organizations, and Rahagiri, as well as now Kalagram and all of those. So where do you see this idea of, because Gurgaon First has typically been focusing more on environmental concerns and issues which have come up due to development again, and to sort of take the citizens' hand, along in these processes. So, with Sadhya's perspective on on ground realities of the Haveli property owners versus people who are outsiders, migrants, and people like me and people like all of us who moved into Gurgaon, say 10, 15, 20 years ago. And so there is probably, the initiatives that you've been involved in. Is there a stronger voice of this, these migrants, or the so-called, per se, the elite? And how do we sort of connect, with the other stakeholders? areas, and what has been your experience in this process? Shubhra, over to you.
Thank you, Parul. I've been listening to all these speakers, and all of them have brought very rich perspectives in today's discussion. When I actually started Gurgaon first, and our mission was to make Gurgaon a sustainable and empowered, an inclusive city. I asked myself this question as to who does Gurgaon really belong to? And I never had any clear answers. I mean, did it belong to the original Gurgaonites who were actually now in the fringes, that sold their property? They were rich, but they were really in the fringes of Gurgaon. Or did it belong to all the retired people who actually sold their houses in Delhi and set up, big houses or farmhouses in Gurgaon? Or did it belong to the people who had settled here for work, or working in Maruti Udyog factories and all the automobile factories that had come up in Gurgaon? Or did it belong to the IT youngsters, who were working in the IT sector, who actually, since a lot of Fortune 500 companies were set up here, and therefore, these were the wannabes, the youngsters who had come and started living in the city. So who did Gurgaon belong to? And I didn't have any clear answers. And one of the things that I really understood was that this city needs to have a sense of belongingness. Nobody felt belonged to this city, which is why, when I see a young boy who actually takes admission in my son's school, and I talk to the mother of the child, she doesn't have any perspective about how to, enjoy the city. For her, the city means the malls, the cinema houses. And when I tell her, why don't you take your child to see this, or the Band, or some of the museums, she says, really, are they really there? And for them, the sense of association therefore with the city is very, very shallow. There is no depth in the city that they find. They just find this city as a consumer. They can use the hospitals, the malls, and the cinema houses, or perhaps the kingdom of dreams which has sprung up. But beyond that, they do not have any definition of the city. So just going back to the question that you raised, which was heritage and development, are they friend or foes? Heritage is such an integral part of the city's development, because heritage brings in sustainability, it brings it in empowerment, it brings inclusiveness, and therefore it adds so much of depth and a sense of identity, and as Sadia said, a sense of continuity to the city. It also has its roots in bringing health through heritage walks. It also helps in giving real education to students. It also helps in tourism. It is also borders around sustainable mobility, and therefore it brings in so many other facets. Just to give you a sense, yesterday, me and my son, we were reading this, the Mughal Empire, the Mughal era. And, there was this topic of that the Mughal emperor actually gave Jagirs away, Jagirs away to the noblemen, and the revenue from the Jagirs actually gave the noblemen their salaries, right? Provided them their salaries. Now Gurgaon was given as a Jagir to Begum Samru. Right now, if we were to associate this Jagirdari system under the Mughals, and show children real examples of how this Jagirs, how did she actually started having a Jagir, within this area, it just brings so many other perspectives. It really helps in educating the students, in a very, very profound way. right? So therefore, it brings in depth. It also brings in livability for a city. Our livability index with pollution, etc., is so bad now. But if we have heritage walks, and we have public spaces, vibrant public spaces, then it just brings up the livability of the city. People find new meaning in their existence in the city. And as I said, with walks and with public spaces becoming more vibrant, it also brings up the element of safety within city. When people start using the space, when people actually start cycling and walking within the city, right? So as I said, it brings up health, it sort of builds community within the city. And then there are so many interesting perspectives to Gurgaon, from really from a city which was given, or a town or a place which was given to Dronacharya, as a gift in the Mahabharat era, to the era of the Mughal Empire, where actually Shah Alam, who was the Mughal emperor, who gave Begum Sambru the Badshahpur and Jharsa as a Jagir to her. And then coming to Gurgaon, as it was called when it became an automobile manufacturing hub. And then Gurugram, there's so much of perspective to Gurugram which people are really not knowing. And recently I've also seen a revival of a lot of physical structures like the Bandh, for example, the revival of some of the museums. There are new museums that have come up. So we can actually set up a kind of a heritage trail or a heritage walk based on the old structures, revival of ponds, revival of lakes. I'm told that once upon a time a river flowed through Gurgaon, and it was the Sahibi River, right? And this is all, my information all comes from various webinars, various workshops that I attended. Some of the webinars that I attended, or sorry, seminars that I attended at your school, which added to my information. And so it would be very interesting for students to actually see the source of Sahibi River. It was obviously from the Aravalis, but what was the source of Sahibi River? And in fact, there are songs, old Haryanvi songs, which talk about the Sahibi River, but those songs are lost. And so there are so many connections and linkages that we make through music, as Dr. Vibhuti talked about, through culture. There's such a conglomeration and intermingling of various facets of our living and who we are and what are we about, that comes through heritage, which really helps talking about this very important facet. Incidentally, I'm part of the Disha monitoring body of Gurugram, and Disha is one committee which monitors the schemes, ongoing central schemes of the government of India. And Parul, during that discussion that we had earlier, I was telling that I was appalled to know that there is a scheme which is called the National Heritage City Development Scheme, which is among the 20 top schemes, central government schemes, in the country, where there is Swachh Bharat and Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Andolan, various other schemes of the government. But Gurugram actually has never taken any funding on this, and we can really take up the funding through this central scheme that I talked about, which is the National Heritage City Development Scheme, City Development and Augmentation Scheme, where we can actually, create a heritage walk, or a group of heritage and cultural places that people can visit, give some boards which has interesting information about it, and there are enough takers for it. I know a lot of mothers who actually would love to take their children out on such walks, love to take them out for such trails. And we're all looking we're all looking for real education, for real meaning to our existence, and heritage will really help us enrich that facet of our being. So these were some general remarks that I thought I must add.
Thanks a lot, Shubhra. So I think this takes me to the next thread of conversation. You've already talked about what can become the future, so that's sort of where we are going. And going to, of course, there are lots of possibilities that we as academics and professionals in the field of heritage are familiar with. That yes, we can do a lot of adaptive reuse projects. We can do a lot of infrastructure development around heritage. We can do a lot of signages. We can do heritage walks. We can do mobile apps. We can do websites around heritage. We can do lots and lots of things. So we are full of ideas, certainly. But now I think we are all here today, and we are each of you are important stakeholders in this process of envisioning the future of heritage of Gurgaon. And on that thought, I would want to now request you to sort of I think an hour into the discussion, but it's been really to hear the views. So I want to now bring in Dr. Vibhuti Sachdev, and I want to actually each of you to take 2 to 5 minutes to talk about each of us, each of you, the panelists, are an agency in this process. So you bring with yourself an agency along with you, and so how do you envision the role of your agency in this process of figuring out this interaction between heritage and development? And on the other hand, what is the future? So a little bit about the future of heritage, that we can as agents make a difference. How do you see yourself making a difference, and what difference would you like to make? So leaving this question for everybody, I would like to request Dr. Vibhuti Sachdev to start with her thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think those are really interesting things to ponder upon, and future of heritage has to be bright. Otherwise, life is going to be immensely boring without it. I think what has to be worked on is changing the mindset of people. Do remember that 20 years ago we used to love the feel of plastic, and we hate it now. And it's because our mindset has changed. The plastic is same. So, and that needs to be done with heritage also. That rather than for the developers to treat it as an irritant, and rather than it being instrumental in kind of devaluing property, it should be regarded as an asset to property. It should be regarded as something that the developers cherish and build around, rather than clean it up and regard it as a problem. And that is of course connected to ease of doing things. It has to the policies have to be in place so that developers can integrate it in the modern development. So in a way, the friendship between future and past has to be rejoined by our present. We are the cement that has to bring both these aspects together for them to hold hands again. And I think we are as an educational institution, we are very well placed to make some effort towards changing mindset and also popularizing the idea of heritage with the citizens of this country. That is really, really required, because I think conservation as a field has been slightly elitist, and we're all responsible for being a bit elitist, and these people do not understand what heritage means. Actually they do, and we need to kind of reach out, and fields of architecture and design and planning have to kind of reach out to the citizens of this country and work with them and show them and show ourselves what we can do in the future. So I think collaboration, changing mindset, and popularization are the three things that we certainly would focus on in our institution.
Major Ratu.
Yeah, okay. INTAC, as you probably know, is a NGO, which is probably the largest NGO India has with a member base. And it was established in 1984 with the primary objective of supplementing the role of the Archaeological Survey of India. See, they had a limitation of what they could do in terms of resources and their spread. INTAC being founded by people with an initiative started by Mr. Rajiv Gandhi personally, and with some of the well-known architects and well-known people of Delhi and India. And the idea was to take up those areas which cannot be looked after or cannot be looked at by the Archaeological Survey of India. Because when you talked of the Archaeological Survey of India, they only talked about the built heritage, the built structures. Whereas INTAC then took on the role of all other intangible heritage points that came up, whether it was the music, whether it was food, whether it was dress, clothes, and things like that. As far as the Gurgaon chapter of INTAC is concerned, we've been very active. In fact, we would consider ourselves a fairly active chapter in the country. And we have done some restoration of tombs in the Mewat region of Taru. We've gone and restored 7 of the tombs over there. I'll come to the problem that we faced after that. Similarly, in Farrukhnagar in Gurgaon proper, we went and restored partially the Delhi Gate. Then outside, as you enter Gurgaon, we have the Garden Estate. At the gate of Garden Estate, we had a Dhauli Piao, which we restored, which was destroyed when the metro was constructed. And now we are in the process of trying to restore the Badshahpur Baoli as well as the French major's tomb. And at this point, I would like to make it a point to mention to you that the French major's tomb was a discovery which was greatly helped by Sadia. And I give full marks to her for her articles that she writes, digging out all these things. And I think, well done, Sadia. I really would like to place on record the tremendous contribution that you made in this regard. And now, what is the progress in this? Now, as far as the French major's tomb is concerned, and as Shubhra also mentioned, and everyone has been talking about the heritage of Begum Samru. See, Begum Samru, there was no proof that she was here. People said the DC's bungalow was her palace, and someone said something else. But when we came across this tomb, which was of the French major, the plate there clearly states that this major's tomb belongs to someone who was in the service of Begum Samru. Now, that means Begum Samru was here. Okay? And then, of course, one did a little research and one found out, and I think some of you may have seen a couple of articles written by me on this in some of the local papers also, where we found out that she had repositioned herself from her original principality north of Meerut, Sardana. As you know of Sardana, if you go to, on the road to the, what is that, towards, Saharanpur from Meerut, it's just about 22 kilometers outside Meerut. And the Sardana and the palace there and all, a full history of Begum Samru is given there. She came here because, as you know, she started her career post her husband's death, because she became the only Christian principality in India. Jagir was given to her in Sardana. Then when she came to Gurgaon, she established a cantonment here so that she could easily provide the manpower and muskets and horses to the Rajputana princes who were always fighting with each other, or whether it was the Marathas, whether it was the Sikhs, anybody who wanted any mercenary army, she was providing that. So when she set up the cantonment here, it was at that stage that the East India Company, they had proposed that, look, we need to counter this because she will one day probably even be a threat to us also. So that is how we finally discovered that she was in Gurgaon. You see, this major's tomb actually established that, and now the restoration work was to have started a year ago. Thanks to SSAA, we had a beautiful project report prepared. I think the finance project report I've seen, excellent work done by them and their students. And now it's only a question of getting into a contract and getting it done. The finance for that is being given exclusively by INTAC. So that There's no question of we're not waiting for money or donations. The French embassy who we contacted, and what we wanted them to know was that this is a French major's tomb, and if you could get a historical link back to his hometown, or maybe to the French army, or maybe some sort of a link with that. They did make a contribution of $1,500, which we politely had to refuse. We said, thank you very much. We will manage on our own. We don't want to get into a contract with you over $1,500. Okay, so that was that. As soon as we can, that's a matter of few days only. Now that things have started opening up, we are going to float our formal contract and get this tomb restored to its original glory. Then we will put up our signpost, as Subra rightly brought it out. We have no signposts over here. We'll have that also out. It's not difficult to get to. Sector 40, it is located in Sector 40, and we can do that. As far as the Bansawar Baoli is concerned, it's only about 10 days ago that we received the formal letter from the Municipal Corporation of Gurgaon saying they will finance the project and they authorize Intact to carry out a restoration of that Baoli. The problem with that Baoli and the report that has to be prepared, by the way, that will be done entirely by Intact, exclusively, because our own architects are all ready for it, because they've been doing this project for years together, restoration of Baolis and so on. So what we will be doing is we requested MCG to get it cleaned up. I wonder if you know, if anyone has been to see it recently, it's full of muck. I mean, it's a horrible sight. It's a horrible sight. So we said, you please at least clean it, because we can't even see the bottom of the Baoli. Whatever pictures we have are those taken about 10 years ago or 8 years ago. Today, we can't even take a picture of that place. It's filthy, full of this thing. And also, we want a demarcation of the Baoli in terms of land that belongs to it now. Other than the DC had very kindly got the road diverted. And that was, we needed to confirm that the land that was around the Baoli belongs to the Baoli, and we could then do what we wanted when the restoration work starts. So these are the two projects currently in our hands. When the Delhi Gate was restored, we had all Intact money utilized for restoration of the Delhi Gate. It was in a horrible condition, but okay. Now the problem that comes up, which I would like you all to understand. After doing the restoration, we have no means of ensuring that building or that structure is retained in this thing. We have nobody looking after it. I mean, in fact, the Delhi Gate in Farooq Nagar has now become the two shops inside that gate think, oh my God, they've restored our two shops. So if we are in Maja, we are enjoying it. And we asked them, listen, my friend, this is not yours. Said, no, what are you talking? For 30 years, we've been paying rent to the local fellow here in Farooq Nagar. So you can't evict us now. And in the meanwhile, what the local fellows did, they had a little mazar there. With that mazar, they put a little water tank for, for any the people coming to pay their respects there, water tank. And then behind it, they also had a toilet prepared. So the net result was that all the restoration work that we had done has virtually gone to naught. Similarly, the Taru monuments that we had restored, their school we asked the school there, please look after it. They didn't do it. And now that the Mewat has become a separate independent, shall we say, district in Haryana, and it's called the No District, correct? I think it's called the No District. Yeah. Now, yeah. So now we don't know what to do about the preservation of the restoration work. I'm not talking about the preservation of the monuments. I'm talking about the preservation of the restoration work, which is our bigger headache. You see?
So I think yes. Thank you, sir. So I think that is the point that the larger question, like the disconnects that we talked about in terms of community's perception versus whose idea of heritage is it. So I think unless we sort of engage with that larger question, and like Vibhuti ma'am mentioned, that work on the changing of mindset and popularizing heritage and work with the people and communities on this, I don't think one-off solutions will ever last. So absolutely required that we work on those fronts, and I'm sure we'll be collaborating to work on those fronts as well. So Sadia, your role, I mean your quick views on what you see. I mean, is it grim what you see in the future, and how can journalism make a difference?
Okay, so I'll keep it very brief. I think the role of journalists is to put the spotlight on heritage of all kinds and nudge the authorities. The latter is extremely important because there's only so much that maybe Sushant School, Intact, or individuals can do. At the end of the day, authorities also need to put in place policies. I'll give you an example. When I write about let's say I discover Haveli, I talk to the stakeholders. There are so many of them who want these Havelis or these legacies to be preserved, but they ask me what next. So once in a while I share contacts of official, but the chain, it ultimately breaks down. There needs to be a proper policy in place. Locals need to be aware about it. They need to know that this is the mechanism, this is how we can sign up for preservation of our Havelis or other ancestral properties. That is completely missing. So all that awareness, all the efforts by civil society, eventually it's not going anywhere, so it tends to fizzle out. So which is why I consistently insist that authorities need to play a much more significant and greater role. Like heritage conservation cannot be an afterthought. It needs to become the center stage. Like the pandemic did derail a lot of stuff, but we really need to speed up things. And as far as the media's role is concerned, I would say there's a lot more that we can do. And apart from highlighting it once, to keep at it, like with respect to the Badshahpur Paoli, after every 6 months, I've tried writing a story that 6 months later, more mark is filling up. Greater portion of the Baoli covered up. So like I have the trail of articles. So I mean, finally something is happening. But during the lockdown months, I was really worried because I was thinking that there is a possibility that when we come back, the Baoli might be completely covered. Thankfully, that did not happen. Like I visited the place 2 weeks back, so it's bad, but some of it still remains. Like you can make out there's still a Baoli. So unless and until the media keeps consistently reporting about it, like the developments, the current status, the authorities need to know, and the media comes as a conduit there. So of course we've been doing it, but there's so much more that we can do.
Thank you, Sadia. So we'll really look forward to your constantly knocking at their doors, and it definitely has made a difference in the past, and I'm sure it can do a lot of bring in a lot of difference in future as well. So thanks again. So Shubhra, now where do you come? So many NGOs, so many initiatives that you're part of. So how do we connect all of this? How do we connect everything and collaborate? Shubhra.
Yeah, she needs to. Shubhra, please switch on your.
Yeah, sir. Yes. So I would just react to everybody's comments by saying that these sites are actually public property. So the authorities will have to protect them, preserve them, maintain them. And we have a new authority in Gurgaon now, along with MCG, GMDA, which is a authority which is also which can also take up heritage. We can talk to them, and they can also talk look at taking up heritage, and also creating a kind of a citizens committee which oversees the monitoring, the preservation of all the heritage sites. But very importantly, one is, and Intact is doing a fantastic job in preserving these in preservation of these sites, and in reclaiming and redeveloping these sites. But we would need ultimately to create heritage walks, where so that citizens kind of use these sites, and these should be on the tourist maps very prominently. And once there is more once these sites, as Dr. Vibhuti said, becomes popular, there would be pressure on the authorities to preserve them, maintain them, have the proper signages, signboards, etc. And we would need to bring in a lot of stakeholders into the game. For example, Rahagiri Foundation, which is trying to make public spaces mobile, safer, etc. We need to bring in NGOs which talk about women and child safety. We need to bring in schools to encourage their students to take up these walks. We would need them to have essay competitions, site visits, we could have for a Qawwali night at one of these sites, So we need to have very innovative programs to, keep these sites alive. And there are so many things that we can weave into this to get the community engaged with these sites. So just as one of the first things, I once I got to know that we are not using the central scheme, I immediately wrote to the MP of Gurgaon, who's Rao Inderjeet Singh ji, and who has taken a lot of interest in seeing that these schemes are open to finance some of these activities. So whether it is an app for on heritage sites, or whether it is a heritage trail that we do, or a heritage walk that we do, I'm sure the next time he has written to the authorities, and the next time the authorities would certainly find it in their agenda items to fund such initiatives. But I'm happy to take this up and create a dialogue with the administration. As we do, we bring in different stakeholders together, and I would be very happy to showcase whatever has been done on preserving of heritage sites, and take it to all the prominent people in Gurgaon to make sure that something comes up.
Absolutely. So just one more point that I wanted to bring up is that CSR has been an important factor. It has played a role in a lot of projects and your initiatives, Shubhra. So how to again get in? Is that something of a possibility that you see, bringing funding through CSR and bringing private bodies and organizations on board in this process of, because it's not only the authorities who can make a difference, probably. It is essentially all efforts have to join together. So how do you see that possibility of, private?
Yeah, there is certainly a possibility of that. What happens with companies is that they set up a CSR agenda. For example, mobility could be a CSR agenda with a company. I know, for example, for Coke and Pepsi, water is high on their agenda. So they create a kind of a objective for them around which they do their CSR. But I'm sure once the CSR community is sensitized to this need of Gurugram, they would rise to the occasion. And I'm happy, and I'm to share with you that I'm sure a few companies will find their worth to invest in the legacy of Gurgaon, especially companies who have their headquarters in Gurgaon would certainly want to do this. And as I said, this also impacts things like transport, for example, or education, or child education. These it borders around those areas. So I'm sure there should be CSR interest in funding. But as I said, there are schemes, or the central government schemes also that are available, and authorities have been sensitized to those schemes. So I'm sure funding should not be a problem, but citizens should come up and say that this is what we need for our city, and there should be enough takers for it. And I think funding is certainly not an issue here. There is the market for it, and there is funding for it. All we need is the will.
Wow, well, that's at that positive note. I would also like to say that we look forward to being a part of this process with all of the collaborators here. So I think Sadia on her end is at it with knocking on the doors of the government agencies and authorities. And I think Shubhra, with your role as part of these NGOs, I think there's a huge amount of possibility of bringing in resources, bringing in the kind of awareness also. And we will be happy to sort of be the connectors in whatever way possible. And also, the point that Sadia made, that the young people, so our students, who are here today, currently the bachelor students as well as the master students, I think there's a lot of weight on your shoulders to take upon these responsibilities and move forward with those. So I think with that, I would like to request Dr. Vibhuti Sachdev for the last few words, and so that we can close the session. And I wish we had more time and we could have taken some question and answers, but I think we will request any of our students, any of our participants today, whoever is here, to please feel free to connect with us and come up with any ideas that you think that we can work on. And in any way that you would like to contribute and work towards this cause of heritage in Gurgaon. So over to Dr. Vibhuti Sachdev for the last few words. Thank you.
So thank you all. I think it's been a great discussion, and this sort of churning requires to happen quite often for us to keep us on track of what we want to do, and the buildings that we we are talking about are markers of a landscape, and they remind us not just typologically what a Bauli is, but also Shubhra, where the river flowed, and the river flowed to the Bauli. So it's it's a whole network of things that that are sadly under threat or under neglect, or however you want to put it. And if we can talk about these simple things that make our environment, make us human beings, and if we talk often about it in the public forum, and with all of your help, to reach out to people, that'll be the cement that binds the past with the future, I think. So thank you all for sparing your valuable time and your valuable thoughts. They are really, what motivates us to keep going as an institution. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really been a wonderful session. Good to have met everybody. We can carry on. There's a lot more we can talk about.